If you can get one customer, that's all the proof you need that you can succeed at doing this. Because if you can get one customer, you can get another one. And you can get another one and another one and another one. And then you keep growing. And the bigger you get, the faster you grow. You pay yourself a six-figure salary. And then at the end of the 1 to 2 years, you decide, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cash out of this. I'm going to sell my business for 150, 200K, depending on how many pools you have, maybe even more than 200K. And you salaried yourself that year 100K on top of the 150 or 200. You've now made $250,000, maybe $300,000 in that 1 year. Guys, I don't want you to think any of this stuff is complicated. It's not. Even if you don't know what I'm talking about, can you glue things together? Do you know how to use glue? Okay, then you can glue PVC together. Guys, I want you to understand, whenever I say that I'll make $60 in 20 to 30 minutes, relatively easy, what I want you to understand is this is the basic level of work. This is just the charge for cleaning a pool. Most pools, guys, you can clean in 20 or 30 minutes. And you're doing a weekly maintenance. So you're going by these properties every week and you're doing most of the time in 20 or 30 minutes. Sometimes do things happen? Do we get a lot of weather, a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and then you're spending longer on the pools? Yes, but on average, 20 or 30 minutes, $60 is what you made. But what I want you to understand is this is the base level. This is the minimum, okay? There are other work that we do beyond cleaning that pays much more, okay? So let's say, for example, I do a diagnosis. If I just go to a property, guys, to diagnose a problem, even if the person that I'm there to diagnose it for doesn't want me to do any work, that's $75. I can usually diagnose a problem without using any tools, just an observation, just observing the problem. I can usually diagnose the problem in 15 or 20 minutes, if even that sometimes. Lots of times, most of my time is spent discussing with the customer what the issue is, or just small talk with them. We'll just be small talking about stuff. I'll spend more time doing that, and there's a $75 charge for that. Okay, we're still talking small numbers here. What about whenever I do something like a recurring service, like a filter cleaning? A lot of the pools that you maintain, the filters have to be disassembled, easy to do, and cleaned every 6 months roughly. Well, guys, that's $150 to $175 for that service. You can usually do that in an hour or less, depending on the filter. Okay, what about if I do like a repair? Guys, if I do any repair at all, okay, if the diagnosis for me using no tools whatsoever is $75, if I use a tool on a job that takes me 10 minutes, I'm charging $125 labor. I'm not talking about the markup on whatever I sell. Let's just take, for example, the simplest thing that I do. Let's say it's replace a capacitor. So pumps will stop working. A majority of the time, the only problem with them is they need a new capacitor. What's it take to replace a capacitor? It takes the replacement capacitor and 2 screws. You remove 2 screws, unplug 2 terminals, plug them into the new capacitor, put the 2 screws back in, cover that capacitor back up, and the pump starts right up. And that's a majority of your pump repairs is capacitors. This takes me 5 or 10 minutes to do. I can diagnose it in less than a minute if this is the problem. I can complete the repair in 5 to 10 minutes tops. Guys, that's $125 plus the markup on the capacitor. They usually cost around $25, $35, maybe $45 depending on the size capacitor. I'm usually selling them for $99 or maybe a little more, maybe a little less. It just depends. So there's also that markup. So you're looking at a job that takes me roughly 15 minutes, let's just say. I'm making almost $200 whenever you throw in the cost of the part, the capacitor, that is. Okay, what if the job is a little more than a simple quick fix? Okay, now we just went from 125 to 175. I can tell you this, if it's any kind of replumbing, if I'm cutting into any plumbing whatsoever and I'm redoing plumbing, automatically $175, guys. And that, lots of times, plumbing jobs I can do I do less than an hour. It takes me less than an hour to do them. 20, 30, 45 minutes, $175 right there. What if the job is going to take me more than an hour? Guaranteed, if it's going to take me 1 hour, $225. We're not counting the cost of the parts that I'm also selling in the repair. So here's what I want you guys to see though. And guys, there's other jobs that I do. Let's say I'm swapping out a light fixture. Guys, that's going to be $500, $600, $700 depending on how long the light is. You know, let's say I'm swapping out a filter. That's going to be $500, $600, $700, $750 depending on how much work is going into swapping out that filter. But most of the time I can swap out a filter in maybe a couple of hours. There's a little bit of plumbing involved. You got to take the old filter out, put the new filter in. There's really not a whole lot to it. You plumb up an inlet, you plumb up an outlet. Guys, I don't want you to think any of this stuff is complicated. It's not. Even if you don't know what I'm talking about, can you glue things together? Do you know how to use glue? Okay, then you can glue PVC together. Can you use a saw where I use a Sawzall, but let's just say you don't even have money for a Sawzall. Can you move your hand like this with the saw and cut through PVC? Of course you can, okay? So that's what I'm saying, guys. Like the $60 for 20 to 30 minutes of cleaning a pool, that's base level. That doesn't count any of the other work. That doesn't count any of the minor repairs, any of the recurring services. That's why I'm telling you guys that it's pretty easy to pay yourself 6 figures or more when you get up to roughly 40 pools, because not only are you going to have the cleaning income, but you're also going to have the income from the repair work and the recurring service work that comes from those 40 pools. Because out of 40 pools, somebody's always going to have a problem. Once a week, twice a week, sometimes you'll have more than that pop up in 1 week, not to mention the people that you'll call that aren't even part of your regular maintenance customers, that they're like one time. They just one-time repair. They just want you to go to their place, do one repair. They don't want recurring service. So you also have those things, guys. We haven't even talked about green to cleans. Green to cleans, what I'm usually charging guys is $125 for the first visit, $89 for each follow-up visit, plus the cost of all the chemicals. The first visit, I might spend an hour. The follow-up visit, I might spend an hour. After that, it's usually the third, fourth, or fifth visit, the touch-up visits. It's usually not an hour. It's usually closer to 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Then the pool's perfect. But a green to clean is great because usually they have existing equipment problems that cause the pool to go green in the first place. So you're making even more money. Not only are you doing the green to clean that you'll probably make $500, $600, $700 on, but you're also going to have like an equipment repair or a couple of equipment repairs to do that you're also going to make money on. So here you are, you've made $1,000 or more for a few hours of work. So when that guy tells me the other day that, oh, and he's kind of bragging, he's like, I worked for this ride sharing program, and I made $70 in 4 hours. I'm like, yeah, I'm happy for you that you're making money, but you could make so much more money. You can make so much more money. And I know this isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life, like I said earlier, guys, but this is a stepping stone. You get to this point, you build up this business over the course of 1 to 2 years, you get to roughly 40, 50, maybe even more pools than that. You pay yourself a 6-figure salary, and then at the end of the 1 to 2 years, you decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and cash out of this. I'm going to sell my business for $150, $200K, depending on how many pools you have, maybe even more than $200K, and you salaried yourself that year $100K on top of the $150 or $200. You've now made $250,000, maybe $300,000 in that 1 year. You can live off of 60, 70, 80K. You can take the other 220 or 170 or whatever, 150. You can put some in investment. You can, let's say you take like half of it. Let's say you take 100K and you put that into an investment, and you take the other 100K to start the other venture that you've always wanted to do. You know what I'm saying, guys? This is what I'm trying to show you, that you can completely change your whole trajectory and the direction you're headed on in a relatively short amount of time, 1 to 2 years of work, guys. And then let's say you need to do it again. Here's the cool thing is if you do this once, you can do it again. And here's the secret, guys. If you can get one customer, that's all the proof you need that you can succeed at doing this. Because if you can get one customer, you can get another one. And you can get another one and another one and another one. And then you keep growing. And the bigger you get, the faster you grow. As you can imagine, you're going to grow the slowest in the beginning. And as you have 10, 20, 30 customers, now you're driving around. People are seeing you. They're seeing you at your neighbors. Your current customers are referring you to their friends. It gets easier and easier to grow. And you have this income stream that allows you to take money because you have excess money and put it into advertising or whatever you want to do to grow, mailing flyers or mailing campaign or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying, guys? The bigger you get, the easier it is to grow. You've got this. I will not let you fail. Join the network and let's get started.